Hello, profound aspirants. Welcome, courageous travelers. Welcome to the luminous heart of Surrealism. Carl Jung once wrote, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." Have you ever wondered why? At certain precise moments in your life, you stumble upon a specific video, a single sentence, a fleeting sensation, and suddenly, you know for a certainty that you are about to change. Not the superficial kind of change where you promise to try harder, but a quiet, fierce, undeniable feeling that life itself is preparing to move you into an entirely new chapter. No one tells you when this happens. There is no loud external sign, but you know it in your bones, as if an invisible force is shifting the very foundations of the world around you. The tragedy is that most people overlook this moment. They dismiss it as a fleeting emotion, a trick of the mind, a coincidence. But in the profound philosophy of Carl Jung, these moments are the sacred intersection between the unconscious and your lived reality. This is the exact place where the comeback journey always begins, in absolute silence. In today's video, we are going to dive straight into the real reason why you are seeing this message at this exact fleeting moment in time. Because according to Jung, the unconscious never sends signals randomly. When you land on a video like this, it is a psychological marker of a quiet shift. It is the signal that you are stepping into the greatest comeback of your entire life. Not the kind of comeback you hope will arrive, but the kind that has already begun in the deeper layers of your psyche, layers you have not yet dared to look at. Are you ready to begin your return at the exact moment you are watching this? Number 1, the awakening of the unconscious. You are seeing this not by accident, but by synchronicity. Have you ever experienced that vague but powerful feeling that your life is about to shift? A kind of intuition without clear evidence, yet heavy with the sense that a hidden door is quietly opening. You don't know what is coming, you don't know where to start, but you feel a terrifying certainty that you are standing at a new threshold. That is exactly how a Jungian comeback begins. It does not begin with loud proclamations. It begins with a subtle vibration, a knock from within that makes you turn your head ever so slightly. Jung called this the whisper of the self, the murmur of your true, unlived being. Consider the story of a woman who shared her journey with the Surrealism channel. She had spent years in a stable, predictable office job. She believed her life would always remain in that narrow lane. But then, something shifted. One ordinary afternoon, sitting exhausted in front of her screen, she felt a strange, magnetic compulsion to replay an old video. A video she had seen years ago, about a person who had failed miserably, only to rise again. She didn't understand why she watched it that day. She didn't understand why her heart beat faster when she heard those specific lines. But she listened to the whisper. A few weeks later, she signed up for a course she had postponed for 2 years. 6 months later, she quit her job and began building her own vision. When asked what made her change so quickly, she simply smiled and said, "I'm not sure. I just know there was something that day that made me see life through a different lens. That is synchronicity. It is when the unconscious brings you to the exact place you need to be, at the exact moment you need it, even before your rational mind understands why." You are watching this video for that same profound reason. Not because an algorithm recommended it, not because you clicked out of boredom, but because your unconscious has begun the process of awakening a part of you that you once abandoned. Have you ever felt that you have simply outgrown your current life? Do the things that once felt fine now feel too tight, like clothes you've outgrown? Do the conversations that once connected you to others now feel out of rhythm, shallow, empty? You aren't becoming strange. You are entering what Jung called the cycle of conscious expansion. Your true self is finally wanting to grow beyond the old, suffocating limits of your ego. A comeback, in the deepest Jungian sense, is not about achieving something external. It is the sacred process of returning to yourself after being lost in the roles of others for too long. A person stepping into their comeback doesn't need the world to validate them. They simply feel deeply that the internal season has changed. Just as spring arrives, a tree doesn't ask for permission to sprout. It simply does, because that is its nature. And so do you. This rising does not wait for you to be ready. It comes because its time has arrived. Think of the image of a great river. Some parts flow gently, others rush violently, swirling and crashing against the rocks. But even when the surface looks like total chaos, the current underneath knows exactly where it is going. Your life right now may resemble that turbulent section. Outwardly unstable, chaotic, but inwardly, you are being guided by a secret psychological order, moving you towards something much greater than your current struggle. Synchronicity is the river's way of saying, pay attention, something essential is happening. If you look closely at your recent weeks, you may have felt these small, strange shifts. You get bored easily by things that once excited you. Your intuition is becoming sharper about what you need to release. You are becoming more sensitive to the energy of others. And even though you feel tired, you also sense a new source of energy forming in the dark. This is not random. This is the phase where your life begins calling you home. As Jung famously wrote, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. The true self will call you, sometimes through anxiety, sometimes through a vague, haunting urge, and sometimes through a video that appears exactly when the soul is ready to listen. You are in that moment now. You are here because your soul has begun shifting, even if your rational mind hasn't caught up yet. You are here because something greater is waiting for you to step into its light. Your comeback is no longer ahead of you. It is opening its door, right now. Number 2, the transition phase. Once you have felt that subtle calling from the deepest part of your soul, the comeback journey takes you to its second phase. This is the phase many mistake for being lost. In reality, it is the gateway to your most powerful transformation. The transition phase, when the old dissolves and the new hasn't appeared yet. This is the strange liminal period when you no longer belong to your old life, but the new one has not yet emerged from the fog. This phase always arrives quietly. You look around and realize you no longer resonate with things that once felt like home, a stable job that now feels like a cage, familiar conversations that feel heavy and performative, passions that once warmed you, now cold as ash. You no longer feel inspired by the old you, but you also don't want to go back to anything from your past. You are standing between two shores. One has collapsed behind you, and the other has not yet formed in front of you. This in-between moment terrifies people the most because it has no map to follow. There is no guaranteed promise. There is no visible light at the end of the tunnel. But Jung called this the dark night of the soul. It is not called dark because of its gloom, but because it is precisely here that the old rigid structures of your ego begin dissolving, so that the new self can be born. Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain, and this transition is exactly that, soul pain, a shapeless ache that signals you are preparing to enter a deeper awakening. I once knew a woman who suddenly felt heavy and exhausted every morning, as if dragging her body through the day. Her job was respected, her income was fine, her family was supportive, but something inside her had fallen out of rhythm with the external world. She tried forcing herself to be grateful. She tried to persist and maintain what was stable. But the more she forced the old version of herself, the emptier she felt. One day, during a long, draining meeting, she realized she couldn't hear the voices anymore. Not because she lost focus, but because her heart no longer lived there. A few months later, she quit, shocking everyone around her. I don't know what's coming, she said. I only know I cannot stay in the old life anymore. Decisions like that rarely come from logic. They arise from a deep tectonic shift that the unconscious has prepared long before the ego was aware. The transition moment always comes with a profound sense of losing direction. You are no longer sure of anything, and that uncertainty makes you feel as if you are standing on soft, sinking ground. But strangely, that very ambiguity is the sign you are moving in the right direction. Because if you already knew exactly where you were going, that wouldn't be transformation. It would just be repetition. This phase is like walking through a thick fog. You can't see the path 10 feet ahead, but each step you take reveals a part of the road that did not exist before you stepped. This reminds me of a classic Zen metaphor. A disciple came to his master complaining that everything in his life had fallen into chaos. Unstable work, distant friends, broken routines. The master handed him a cup full of water and said, Pour more. The disciple answered, I can't, Master. The cup is full. The Master smiled and said, so are you. He gently poured the water out and whispered, only when empty can you make space for the new to enter. That is the most delicate metaphor for the transition phase in Surrealism. Jung described this disorder not as a sign of failure, but as life clearing out what no longer fits, so the true self can finally step in. Jung believed that every psychological rebirth must go through dissolution. The old ego, made of borrowed beliefs, roles, expectations, and habits, must collapse for the true self to emerge. You feel lost, not because you are off track, but because you are becoming too big for your old life. The old container can no longer hold the magnitude of who you are becoming. Imagine a seedling breaking through hard, dry soil. From the outside, it looks like destruction. The earth splits, dirt scatters, stones shift. But underneath, it is new life rising quietly and relentlessly. Your life is the same. When things feel unstable, remember, the ground only cracks when something new wants to be born. And if right now you feel tired, empty, or no longer belonging to anything familiar, do not panic. You are simply growing. And growth, according to Jung, always begins with the pain of letting go. This is not the sign of an ending. This is an invitation into a new chapter of your being. Trust this process. Even if you see nothing clearly yet, because where you stand right now, in the silence of the fog, is the threshold of your comeback. And a real comeback only begins when the old you can no longer hold you back. Number 3, the rising of the shadow. If the transition phase makes you feel you are no longer aligned with the old, then the next phase is the most intense. This is when the things you once tried to hide, suppress, or forget suddenly resurface without warning. In Surrealism, we recognize this as the movement of the inner shadow. Many people mistake this period for a regression. They think they are getting worse. But in truth, this is the most crucial shift Jung called the rising of the shadow. It doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to set you free. The shadow does not arrive as an enemy, it comes as a mirror, forcing you to face the parts of yourself you have ignored for years. Old fears, intense emotions without explanation, or a sudden, quiet anger that doesn't seem to belong to the present moment. When the shadow rises, you feel pulled into overwhelming emotions. But this is a sign you have finally gone far enough into your journey that the deepest part of your unconscious wants to be healed. Jung once said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the moment when the darkness in your life wants to be seen, so it no longer has to scream in silence. Consider a story shared by a close friend of the channel. After leaving a long-term relationship, she became unexpectedly sensitive. If a friend replied late, she panicked. If someone changed plans, she felt abandoned. She didn't understand why she was reacting so strongly to small things. Through the lens of shadow work, she realized those feelings didn't come from the present at all. They were echoes from her childhood. Moments of being left alone, or cold remarks from adults that she had suppressed to survive. When she left the safety of her relationship, the old protective layer disappeared. The shadow resurfaced with all those buried memories. But when she dared to face them, something strange happened. The fear of abandonment no longer controlled her, not because it vanished, but because it had finally been seen. As Jung noted, darkness only needs to be acknowledged to lose its power over the ego. Modern neuroscience supports this clearly. When you experience intense emotions, your brain's survival mode, the amygdala, activates. Your heart races, your body tenses. But when you stop avoiding and simply observe the emotion, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for clarity, begins calming the amygdala. By simply facing the emotion, you help your nervous system release energy that has been stuck for years. Jung believed the shadow is the first door leading to your comeback. You cannot become a stronger version of yourself if you are still bound by unprocessed emotions. The shadow teaches you to face what you don't want to see. It teaches you to touch what you once ran from and to embrace what once filled you with shame. Only when you do that can the stuck energy be released, creating the inner space for the new version of you to enter. Imagine a long-abandoned dark room in a house. The darkness itself isn't the problem. The problem is that you have never stepped inside to see what is there. Each time you turn on a small light, you see objects that once scared you, but in truth, they are just old items you no longer need. When you clear them out, the room becomes spacious, clean, and bright. The shadow is that room. It must be entered not to be feared, but to be liberated. If you are experiencing intense emotions, sudden memories, or a feeling of emptiness, HT now. Do not panic. You are not going backwards. You are entering the most vital phase of your comeback. The shadow does not destroy you. It clears the path. It reveals exactly what has been holding you back so you won't carry that weight into your next chapter. When you accept what once made you ashamed, it turns into wisdom. When you allow emotions to rise without judgment, they become life force. That is why, after every dark night of the soul, the light that returns is always steadier and deeper than before. This is the ultimate sign that you are closer than ever to the comeback of your life. Number 4, the restructuring of inner power. Jung believed that once the shadow is acknowledged and the darkness is brought into the light, your psychological system naturally enters a phase of profound reorganization. Old reactive habits begin to lose their grip. Your nervous system stops being a slave to the past. This is the moment you begin acting differently, not because you are trying to be mature, but because you are operating from a new ego-self axis. As Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The moment you see the pattern, you break the spell. You stop calling your life fate and start calling it choice. You will notice this shift first in the small, everyday moments of your life. In the past, a careless remark from a stranger could ruin your entire day. A sudden change in plans could rattle your sense of security. Someone's silence could send you into a panic. But now, you find yourself pausing. You no longer react on impulse. You observe the world before you respond to it. You are no longer pulled into other people's drama. You are no longer letting old wounds dictate how you stand in a room. This isn't you forcing yourself to be strong. This is your inner power restructuring itself from the ground up. Consider the story of a woman named Lisa. She spent years in unstable relationships, always on the defensive. Whenever conflict arose, she would either lash out to protect herself or collapse into tears. But after doing the hard work of facing her shadow, she noticed a change. She told me, "I don't react as fast anymore. I pause, I breathe, and I choose a different path." Lisa didn't argue to protect her ego anymore because her ego was no longer her master. The change felt gentle, yet it shifted her life onto an entirely different trajectory. This is like a river in spring. The ice melts not because the river works hard, but because the internal temperature has changed. When your inner power restructures, old habits melt away because you have risen to a different frequency. The small, fearful ego no longer has enough weight to pull you back into the past. This stage is beautifully illustrated by the journey of global leaders who have faced intense public scrutiny. Many describe a turning point that didn't come from a grand event, but from a quiet moment of self-awareness. The moment they realized they were living according to others' expectations. The moment they began saying no to what was misaligned. The moment they left exhausting social circles and set boundaries that were clear and unshakable. In the Surrealism process, this is when the persona, the social mask, begins to fade. You no longer act to please others. You no longer live to be validated. Instead, you begin choosing from the center of the self, where clarity, integrity, and peace reside. Your decisions become sharper, not because you know more, but because you are standing in the right place inside yourself. Inner restructuring doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives in the details, the way you no longer text impulsively when you feel anxious. The way you know exactly when to walk away from a toxic conversation. The way you say no without a hint of guilt. The way you hold silence when silence is an act of self-respect. These small things create a massive result. You begin living like the person life has been preparing for a massive comeback, steady, bright, and impossible to shake. You aren't becoming someone new. You are returning to the version of yourself that has always existed, just waiting for the old ego to step aside. If you feel you are stepping into this phase of reacting differently, more truthfully to your own soul, know that the restructuring is already happening. It is the undeniable sign that you are moving in the right direction. Number 5, withdrawal from the crowd. when your inner power begins to restructure, when you notice that you react differently, more calmly, and more clearly, something very special begins to happen. You begin withdrawing from the noise around you, not because you dislike anyone, not because you want to isolate yourself out of bitterness, but because your mind is entering a more delicate, sacred phase. Jung called this withdrawal a ceremonial step backward in the process of individuation. This is when your psychic energy is pulled inward in preparation for a much greater surge. You will notice this in the smallest details. You feel less inclined to talk, less inclined to explain yourself to those who don't understand, less inclined to show up just for the sake of being seen. Conversations that once excited you now feel heavy and pointless. People who once matched your energy now seem distant, like shadows from a past life. This isn't because you are becoming negative. It is because your inner frequency is changing, naturally creating a need for silence. And strangely, this withdrawal does not feel like loneliness. It feels preparatory, as if something profound inside you is quietly being rearranged in the dark. In a Jungian context, we see this often. A person goes through a major upheaval, and suddenly, they no longer want to attend the social gatherings they once loved. Their friends might think they have become cold or distant, but in truth, their soul is storing energy. They are not hiding from the world, they are preparing to return to it as a much stronger, more integrated version of themselves. Withdrawal is like the moment the ocean becomes perfectly still, before the tide rises. From the outside, you appear less interactive. But that is because your energy is being pulled down into the deeper layers of the unconscious. You are no longer scattered by meaningless talk. You are no longer drained by the need to please. You begin prioritizing your own peace, not out of selfishness, but because your soul is entering a regeneration phase. One of the most powerful examples of this phase comes from Carl Jung himself. After his professional and psychological parting with Freud, Jung went through a period of near total withdrawal from the world. He left his teaching positions. He stopped writing for the public. He reduced his social interactions to almost nothing. He spent years walking by Lake Zurich, carving stones, recording the strange images that emerged from his mind, and conversing with his own inner world. Many at that time thought he had lost his mind, but it was precisely in that misunderstood period that Jung entered what he called the confrontation with the unconscious. From that seemingly meaningless withdrawal, Jung produced the greatest works of his life, including the Red Book, the very foundation of all the theory we discuss here on Surrealism. Jung disappeared from the world, only to return as one of the most influential minds in human history. That is the essence of ceremonial withdrawal, a moment when the world thinks you are pausing, but in truth, you are being prepared for your greatest leap forward. Inner power cannot be regenerated in the middle of a crowd. It can only be rebuilt in the sanctuary of silence. As you enter this phase, you will notice that silence becomes something you cherish. You savor your quiet evenings alone, not because you want to avoid life, but because you want to hear your own inner voice more clearly than the noise of the collective. You gradually stop caring about what people think of you. You no longer feel the frantic need to reply quickly or explain your choices. That withdrawal is the beginning of real freedom. Freedom from the invisible control of the crowd. Freedom from the rhythm of life you once thought you had to follow. If you feel yourself quieting down, know that it is not a sign of diminishing. It is a sign of maturing. When the soul grows, it needs space, it needs quiet. That silence is the ritual before a new self is born. You are not leaving the world, you are only leaving behind what no longer belongs to you. And then, one day, you will notice something magical. When the silence becomes deep enough, you will finally begin to hear the calling of your comeback. Number 6, the signals of a comeback. There will be a very strange moment. A moment where the world outside begins to respond to the work you have done inside. When you have moved through the void of silence, when your old reactions have fallen away like dead skin, and your energy has been regenerated in the stillness, that is when the universe begins to move in lockstep with you. Jung called this synchronicity. It is not just a coincidence, it is a meaningful alignment where the outer world reflects the exact frequency of your inner soul. Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." When these meaningful coincidences grow more frequent, it is the first undeniable signal that you are stepping into the comeback phase of your life. The interesting thing is that true synchronicity never appears during a state of chaotic, ego-driven grasping. It only emerges when you begin living as your true self, when you no longer strain to control every outcome, when your mind is no longer a prisoner of fear, your energy becomes clear. Suddenly, opportunities you long searched for begin to find you. The right person walks into your life without you having to call them. A message appears on a screen or in a book at the exact second you needed that specific answer. It feels as if the world has read your thoughts beforehand. I once knew a woman named Mina. After a year of withdrawing from toxic social circles to focus on her own healing, she sat quietly one afternoon thinking of an old friend she hadn't spoken to in 5 years. She didn't reach out, she simply felt a wave of gratitude for that past connection. 2 hours later, that exact friend messaged her, "I don't know why, but I've been thinking about you all day. Are you okay?" For Mina, this wasn't just luck. It was confirmation that when the internal landscape changes, the external world must shift to match it. Life is not a journey you force with sheer effort. It is a journey where you adjust your internal energy until you become guided. Jung believed that when the ego no longer clings to its narrow desires and the self takes the lead, external events begin connecting through an invisible, soul-centered logic. In Greek mythology, there is the concept of kairos, the right moment. It is the moment when the universe opens a door for the one who is truly ready. Just like Jung's synchronicity, it suggests that life doesn't open when you hammer on the door with your fists. It opens when you align with your inner order. And the beautiful part, synchronicity starts small. A timely sentence in a podcast that wakes you up, a book that falls off a shelf, opening to the exact page of your problem, a stranger saying the exact words you were just thinking, an opportunity arriving 5 minutes after you decided not to give up. These are not random accidents. These are the whispers of the universe saying, "Keep going. You are on the right path." Synchronicity doesn't arrive to save you from yourself. It arrives to confirm the growth you have already attained. It is the return of the inner order. If you are seeing these signs, unexpected messages, doors opening without force, do not dismiss them. They are the voice of your soul. They are the evidence that your comeback is no longer a dream of the future. It is the reality of your present. And if you are watching this video right now, in the middle of your struggle, know that this too is a form of synchronicity. It is the universe's way of reminding you that you are not lost. You are simply being prepared. Number 7, the tipping point. Many people live their entire lives waiting for a grand explosion to signal their arrival. They wait for the striking opportunity or the destined encounter. But Jung discovered that the deepest transformations happen in the absolute silence where no one sees, not even you, until it reaches the tipping point. Jung famously taught, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. The moment you stop resisting your path and stop clinging to the ghost of your old self, the magma of your inner life begins to move. The true comeback is not when your external circumstances change. It is when your internal identity fundamentally shifts. You may not see the skyscraper yet, but the foundation has already been poured deep into the earth. If you no longer live from a place of fear, if you no longer repeat the same reactive patterns, if you no longer allow small minds to derail your mission, then your comeback has already crossed the threshold. It is happening in the very moment you breathe. Think of a sleeping volcano. To the casual observer, it is just a silent, still pile of stone. But miles beneath the surface, the heat is rising. The geological layers are shifting. The pressure is building. No one sees the process, but everyone witnesses the eruption. Your life is that volcano. Those quiet inner shifts, the moments you chose silence over an argument or peace over being right, are your magma movements. When the internal pressure of your growth becomes full enough, it creates a tipping point that changes the entire trajectory of your existence. Those who only see the result will call it luck, but you will know it was alchemy. Modern neuroscience calls this the critical state. When you change small habits and thoughts every day, you are building new neural pathways. At first, it feels like nothing is happening, but eventually, the brain reaches a threshold where it completely reorganizes its network. Suddenly, you feel different, calmer, less reactive. You haven't just learned a new skill, you have literally shifted into a new biological and psychological structure. This is the ultimate Jungian comeback, reclaiming yourself. You stop asking for permission to exist. You stop wearing the mask of pleasantness just to be liked. You stop running from the shadow. You realize that the greatest comeback isn't reclaiming what you lost in the world, but reclaiming who you are in the soul. A person entering this stage doesn't look like they are preparing for a battle. They look like an artist refining their craft in the dark. No boasting, no complain. No desperate need for an audience. Every fracture in your past has become a layer of strength. Every loss has become a lesson in sovereignty. If you've wondered why you saw this video today, it's because you have reached your own tipping point. From the awakening of your unconscious to the rising of your shadow, you have been guided to this very second. The comeback is no longer a destination, it is your current state of being. Thank you for walking this path with Surrealism. If you feel this shift happening within you, this steady, bright, unshakable power, then you are exactly where you belong. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we continue to map the depths of the human soul together. The old world is falling away. Your new chapter is already unfolding. Stay awake. Stay sovereign. I'll see you in the shadows.